Hi everyone, Mr. Rogers here. Today we are going to be learning about lines of symmetry. Okay, so in a math class, especially when you get into being in the geometry concepts of math class, you deal a lot with symmetry and like lines of symmetry, if a shape is symmetrical, if it's unsymmetrical, all that jazz. So today I'm going to teach you all what it means when a shape is symmetrical and if it has lines of symmetry. Okay, so if you look up here on my board, I have some terms that you're going to need to be able to know and some terms that I'm going to be discussing in the video today. So my first term is symmetrical. So in this video, you're going to learn what it means if a shape is symmetrical or unsymmetrical. Okay, then the second vocab word that we're going to learn, or I guess technically the third, is lines of symmetry. All right, so let's get into it. All right, so symmetry, it can be difficult, but if you use your knowledge that you know in math class and you go in having a growth mindset, symmetry can be a breeze for you. Okay, and symmetry can be like pretty interesting, I think. I enjoyed geometry in math class, especially the older I got and the more like higher in the grades I went. I had a lot of like advanced math classes that had a lot to deal with like geometry, the geometry aspect, and it got fun. So I promise geometry, even if it doesn't seem like it's fun right now, it does get better. I promise you that. So let's get back onto topic though. All right. So we need to figure out what it means if a shape is symmetrical or unsymmetrical. Okay, and what that word symmetrical means is a shape is symmetrical if it has a line of symmetry. So to be able to know if a shape is symmetrical, that means we need to know what lines of symmetry are. And lines of symmetry, if you notice, that's my second term that I have up here that we're going to learn, is a line where if you drew it somewhere in an object that you have, a shape, if it's whatever image, object, whatever it is, if you draw a line somewhere in that shape, that means both parts of that shape where that line of symmetry is, that both sides are going to be equal. Okay, that will make more sense when I get into example. Okay, so just know that lines of symmetry, okay, which is what we're talking about today, is a line where we can fold an image and have both sides look exactly the same. Okay, so that's really important to know in lines of symmetry is both sides or both parts of our object are exactly the same. Not almost the same, not quite the same, exactly the same. Okay, and like I said, that will be more, it will make more sense when I get into an example. All right, so if I was to draw a circle on my board right here, okay, and I'm trying to draw it pretty evenly. All right, so if I was to look at this circle right here, all right, I need to figure out if this circle is symmetrical or not. Okay, and remember, a shape is symmetrical if it has a line of symmetry. Okay, so I'm going to experiment with this circle a little. All right, so if I was to draw, I'm going to use a black marker so you know what I'm doing. Okay, so if I was to draw a dotted line right here, and this dotted line means that I'm going to fold this shape. Okay, I'm going to fold this shape. All right, I'm going to kind of like highlight it a little so you can see it. Okay, what I'm going to do, I would fold this shape. Okay, and that's what this little arrow pointing down is. I'm going to fold it above on this line. Okay, if I was to fold this shape, my image would look something like this. I'm trying to make it as even as I can. I'm not the greatest artist. Okay, so it would kind of be like this. It would kind of just be a circle like this. Okay, to be symmetrical, that means it needs to have a line of symmetry, which means that where I put that line somewhere in my shape that both sides or both parts of that shape are exactly identical. And if you notice right here, this is not identical because I'm missing all this right here. So this right here is not a symmetrical shape if I drew my line right here. Let's look at another way or another fold that I could do to make my line or to make my circle a line of symmetry, to have a line of symmetry. So I drew my circle back up here. Now I'm going to look to find another line I can make that will make this shape symmetrical. Okay? What if I drew or I was to fold this shape in the middle? Okay? If I was to put it in the middle, if I was to fold this circle in the middle and I try to draw my line, that means my fold that I'm going to make in the middle, that means I'm going to, let's go this way. I'm going to fold it this way. Okay, if I was to fold it this way, that means I would have this shape right here. Okay, so if I had folded it, I would get this part right here. And when I look at that, I see that both sides would be equal. Okay, so they would be exactly the same. So that means this shape is symmetrical because if I had a fold down the middle, that means both sides would look exactly the same. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to put a couple examples on my board and then we're going to go through if they're symmetrical or unsymmetrical. Okay? Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to put some shapes on the board and we're going to go through if they're symmetrical or not. Okay? I'm trying to make them as even as possible. But like I said, I'm not the greatest artist. So you all will just kind of have to bear with me. Okay, hang on. All right, so if you notice on my board, I have 3 different shapes that we are going to go through to figure out if they're symmetrical or not, okay? And remember, a shape is symmetrical if it has a line of symmetry. So if I was to draw a line in somewhere on a shape or an object that both parts, after I folded it, both parts would be exactly the same. So if we look at this first shape that I have like a triangle. If I look right here, you can probably guess if this shape is symmetrical or not, okay? But we're going to try to figure out a different way if we can determine if it's symmetrical or not. So if I was to fold it in the middle, okay, that means I would have this side and it would be about right there. Then I would have this part right here that if I was to fold it over, and it would be somewhere like this. So that's what would kind of get folded over. Okay, so I'm missing all this right here, so that means that shape is not symmetrical with that line. Let's see if I can fold it a different way to make it symmetrical. So I'm going to draw it again. All right, so let's see if I was to draw it down the middle right here. Would it be symmetrical? Well, this part, this is what I would be folding over. If I was to fold that over, it would not look like this because I would not have this piece over here. So this shape is not symmetrical. Okay, so I'm going to draw this shape again. And I'm going to put not symmetrical. Okay. not symmetrical. Which just means there's no way I can have a line of symmetry in this object. It's too awkward. All right, so let's look at our square over here. Okay, if I was to draw a line down the middle and I was to fold it over, that means this would line up over here. This one would line up over here. And then I would have this line up over here. So that means this object can be symmetrical because this line of symmetry works. So this shape is symmetrical. Okay? If you notice about this shape, there can be multiple lines of symmetry in that shape. And that's perfectly fine. If an object has multiple lines of symmetry, that's okay. Because all a shape needs to be symmetrical is one line of symmetry. If it at least has one line of symmetry, then it's symmetrical. Okay, so if it has 10 different lines of symmetry, it's still symmetrical compared to if an object just has one line of symmetry. Okay? All right, lastly, let's look at this object down here. So if I have this object, and I need to determine if this object has a line of symmetry. Well, if I look right here, if I split it down in the middle, okay, so, and then if I was to flip it that way, so this part would line up with this part over here, it would line up down here, and then it would line up down at the bottom. So this shape is also symmetrical because it has a line of symmetry. This shape it only has one line of symmetry because there's no other way you can flip it to make it symmetrical. Okay? So, this is just a couple examples to show how a shape has lines of symmetry to make the shape symmetrical or not. Remember, symmetrical just means that a shape is symmetrical if it has a line of symmetry. All it needs is one line of symmetry. If it has at least one line of symmetry, then it's symmetrical. If it has no lines of symmetry, that means your shape is not symmetrical. And we kind of saw that with this triangle right here. All right. Then we also learned that lines of symmetry just means it's a line placed on an object, and based on the fold or the line that you drew in your shape, that both sides would look exactly the same. Okay, and if both sides look exactly the same, then that shape has a line of symmetry. If they do not look exactly the same, then it is not a line of symmetry. To be a line of symmetry, it has to look exactly the same. I hope this video helped you guys with lines of symmetry. Until next time, have a good day.